Topic number 3 says, Islam is diverse, but Islam being an entity implies some semblance of unity. Why is the idea of African spiritual unity shut down by Pan-Africanists? I'm going to leave it at that because that's where it should have gone. Shooter Breeze topic number 3 comes with several attachments. First one takes us to YouTube. We'll watch it and then we'll move on to the next ones.
The arrival of Ramadan marks a month of fasting, spiritual purification, and prayer for Muslims all around the world. In addition to the rituals that include long communal prayers and iftar, Muslims also observe some traditions that are specific to the month and that vary from place to place. Here is a look at some Ramadan traditions from around the world. The holy month also brings unique Ramadan-specific dishes to the menus in several countries, like the Ramadan pide, a traditional baked flatbread in Turkey with a handmade crisscross pattern that makes it unique. Similarly, penny, a kind of vermicelli that is fried and served in milk, is a popular traditional dish served for suhoor in Pakistan. Fanus, or the Ramadan lanterns, are brightly colored lamps that are known for their distinct designs. The lamps have become symbols of Ramadan in Egypt and are also popular in several other countries like Jordan and Palestine, where they light up streets and homes during Ramadan. Drummers in Turkey beat their drums with melodic poetry to wake Muslims for sahur. This tradition dates back to the Ottoman era, and drummers try to keep the tradition alive. Ramadan drummers are also popular in other Muslim countries. The Hajj al-Layla tradition is observed in the UAE 15 days prior to the start of Ramadan. Children dressed in traditional clothing venture out onto the streets and roam their neighborhoods collecting sweets and singing songs. The sighting of the new moon of Shawwal marks the end of Ramadan and the arrival of Eid al-Fitr. The last Eve of Ramadan, also known as Chand Raat or Night of the Moon, is celebrated with festivities on the streets of India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. After the final iftar, women and girls flock to the local markets to buy colorful bangles and to paint their hands and feet with henna designs.
That's the first attachment. Let's go to the second one. You guys should be able to see my screen.
اعتقد الاطفال هسه تشوفونهم ان شاء الله بعد شوي راح تشوفونهم لابسين دشداشه، تماق، قطره، عقال. بناتنا لابسات هذا الزري، الثوب الهاشمي. لعبه المحيبس لعبه تراثيه ومتميزه بشهر رمضان المبارك يعني، واخذناها من ابائنا ومن اجدادنا.
ما شاء الله خيرات، ما شاء الله منور الشارع واجواء رمضانيه والناس مبشره والخير ما شاء الله، وغادي الوسقه والدنيا، وهذا رمضان نعرفه.
Okay, and lastly, we have this one that takes us to TikTok. Share it with you guys. This is short. We're going to watch it and then we'll discuss it.
But it's not the only Muslim culture. Arab culture is beautiful, but it's not the only Muslim culture. It's not even the dominant Muslim culture, as the numbers show us. And living in the West, there are so many Ramadan traditions throughout the world that we overlook. Like, did you know in Indonesia, Muslims have a pre-Ramadan ritual called padusan, where they bathe in a water source, often a waterfall, to prepare their mind and body for fasting. Or that in Malaysia, many people break their fast with a dish called murtabak, a stuffed fried bread filled with meat and spices. Or how Nigerians from the country with the largest Muslim population in Africa celebrate with colorful jollof rice. Or how in Upper Egypt, Sahur drummers called Musaharati walk through the streets and beat their drums to wake people up for a pre-dawn meal. Or how in Morocco, you're bound to find harira at every iftar table. Or nafako at Somali tables, or kolak in Southeast Asia. Point being, our collective culture is a dynamic group of communities from around the globe, and Western media paired with Arab chauvinism will have you thinking that there's one way to do things, when in reality that could not be further than the truth.
Sorry, my computer's slowing down a little bit. I think that last video in particular, I think, kind of sums it up. That they have these communities all over the world. They do things, and I agree with Afro world, yawn. They do things differently in these different locales, but they still claim to be under Islam. And the parallel there is for the Pan-Africanists, in that we are all in these different locales. We do things differently, mostly slightly differently, and can't have cultural unity. Even though we have these, this diverse community. So, with that said, man, let's throw it to the panelists. Let me start with Real Black Gentleman. What say you?
Look, no comment, dude. I got nothing about any of that. I'm not gonna waste my breath. I don't even want to. Like, I feel like I done waste my time just paying attention to that. I don't know who brought that up as a topic, but they ain't got nothing to do with no. Well, look, well, they can do it. Why? I don't care. I wasn't paying attention no ways. Like, I'm done.
All right, that's an interesting response. RBG, Black Seal, what say you?
Well, for a couple things. Number one, I don't believe Islam is not united. First of all, those of you who may not be aware of the Sunni Islam and Shia Islam, right? So basically, I think it's Shia Islam. They want Islam to be led by someone who's a descendant of Muhammad, whereas Sunni Islam they're not as centralized. But Sunni and Shia have been fighting since the beginning, right? Those who they're concerned that Islam should be controlled by a descendant of Muhammad, by a descendant of Ali. So yeah, there's not a lot of unity. They may have, even now, right? The Ummah, or what the Muslims call the Brotherhood of Believers, is not united. Muslims fight Muslims all the time. Muslims kill Muslims all the time. They may have some ideological similarities, but there's a lot of dissension within the ranks when it comes to Islam, and I think you'll find some discrepancy. The most populous Muslim nation is Indonesia. I'm sure Islam practices in Indonesia is going to be different than what it's practiced in Senegal, or Saudi Arabia, or Russia, because they have a large Muslim community in Russia and India and whatnot. So I do believe there is some, but I do believe there are some things they can all agree on, understandably. But I think that for Pan-African, right? Africa being the second largest continent, being a very diverse continent, right? I don't believe that spiritually we're all going to be on the same page. We're not. We're all not going to see things eye to eye. But I do believe, and this is kind of what my thing has always been, we got to agree on the big stuff, right? Some stuff we can disagree on, right? If you got a young lady come over, you live with somebody, you got somebody at your house, how they flip the toilet roll, is that really a big deal? No, that's not really a big deal. But do you pay your bills on time? That's a big deal, right? If you had the toilet roll under or over, some stuff we can kind of overlook. But the big stuff we gotta agree on, right? So I believe that we should have enough flexibility to where we can have differing views, but at the same time we understand the big issues. What we have to do, we have to come to an understanding that we are a people who are oppressed, who are under attack, and we have to organize for our very survival, right? Then I think that then once we do that, we can then get to a point where we can organize and talk about some of the other things. But we have some cultural similarities. But again, as long as we understand the big things and we can agree on the most important things, I believe there's some wiggle room for different cultural practices. Black African people have always been, to our detriment, tolerant of others, right? And it's been to our detriment, but we can't deny and say that we haven't. Speaking about Islam, when Muhammad first practiced his religion, when the Muslims were being persecuted, many of them fled to Ethiopia, right, to get away from their persecution. So Africans have always been understanding, and I think that's to our detriment, but at the same time, we can understand that our goal as a Pan-Africanist, right? Pan-Africanism means all Africans, be they on the continent, be it within the North and South America, the Caribbean, so on and so forth, right? That's over a billion people, right? We're gonna find some things to disagree about, but I think that if we understand the larger plight, our larger issues, we can come to an understanding. I'll leave it there.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. Let me hear from Kofi the Heathen next. Oh, sorry. Kofi's not on the stage. Oh, sorry. Kofi, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. No, with everything aside,
Right.
that is beautiful. That is one of the things that I kind of envy is you have different people of different ethnic backgrounds and stuff like that comes together on one thing, which is Islam, right? From a Pan-African standpoint, yes, I would like to see things like that, but at the same time, we from using a Muslim analogy again, I can't help but to see it through the lens of Black people. So Islam, like I said before, means peace. When the last thing this is a peaceful religion. If they're gonna go, if you go to a surah in the Quran, if you know a story about Quran, again, Islam still practices slavery. The word for slave in Islam is Habib and Aswad. That means African slave. That's what that means, even though they're a religion of peace. And you talk to an imam or a Muslim person, they go, "Oh, brother, no, see, we accept. You could still be, Muslim like me. Look at Bilal. Bilal, he was slave, right? He was slave, and then he gave his life to Allah. Then he be his free man now. Fuck out my face! Like no. I'm being like a second class Muslim fucking citizen. Like, what are you talking about? So I understand. I understand what this is saying, and I get the point that you're trying to Koku, like, and what Black Steel says. We have to have a commonality, and it's not going to be religion. It's not going to be wealth. It's not going to be class. It's going to be our Blackness. because you see the common denominator with these people. So when people when they go to Hajj and they do their pilgrimage and things like that, even when you listen to Malcolm X, say, hey, look, there was a time when Malcolm X, when he first went there, he said, well, maybe if the white man accept Islam, he'll be a better man. Because when Malcolm went there, he said he saw black, he saw white, he saw young, he saw all these people that had all this commonality of saying, oh, but Islam is bringing them together. So the black world have to use our collective blackness as one, nothing more, nothing less. So we need, like Black Steel says, we're all not going to agree, but there's certain things. It's just we have to agree. We agree that we're all black, and we agree that we're all African, and we agree no matter what your religion is, what your faith is, or lack thereof, people in that faith. This is what I always try to drive people. People in your faith will try to do you harm using the same faith that you adhere to. That's the reason why I don't like religion, because it's not fucking yours. And if you could keep it's like trying to keep the spiritual aspect away without it being infiltrated, because then they can say, hey, brother, Islam, brother, hey, let me get into the place of the mosque over there with you black people there. I'm Muslim like you. Come on, brother. And when are you gonna go? Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. That's the wrong religion that I have. But they cannot enter if the ticket to get in here is fucking blackness. They cannot enter. It's that simple. If you go into that place, they're playing soccer and all that shit or whatever. Not saying they're going to be a mean country or whatever. But if you saying like me, oh, I'm an atheist, or I practice Ifa religion, you know what I'm saying? I'm with the Yoruba. Oh, I do voodoo. Do you think they're going to treat me as fucking nice? No, nigga, get the fuck out of here. Get out here, Abib. Get out here, Aswad. We have to have that same mentality. So they know not to step in there. They know not to step in there like that. Only person that can step in that realm of what you're showing right now, if you're a Muslim, that's your ticket in there. But guess what? If you want to be Muslim, that's your ticket in there. You don't control shit. You have to Abib. You're gonna have to abide by what they're doing, and we need to do the same thing. That's it. I'll end it right there.
Appreciate that, Kofi. I do think, just want to reiterate, I do think this idea that, we black folks tend to like to talk about not being a monolith, right? And the Arab world is not a monolith, as Black Steel pointed out. What's it, Sunni and Shiite? They go back and forth, but here's the thing: put a Sunni and a Shiite in a room, they might tussle, sure. Bring in a black man, and let's see what happens. They get on accord based around their both being Muslim. Even if a black Muslim man walks in there, they get on accord of being what they would consider the authentic article, right? And I think that's what the prompt is trying to get at, is as Pan-Africanists, we should be pushing for the thing that you can see in other groups that keeps them together. That, skirmishes aside within the community, what is that thing? And I don't see an issue with an African spiritual system, even though it might not be the same African spiritual system that you choose. You might decide to be Yoruba versus, whatever else. But at least you would connect as African spiritualists. You see what I'm saying? You might not agree with the Yoruba, but you're an African spiritual. And I think that's what's trying to be discussed here. And I find that we kind of are easy, even as Pan-Africanists, it's kind of easy for us to say, well, we just can't, we all can't. And it seems to me then that, do we have a disgust ourselves for African spirituality, African spiritual culture? And I think that's something to keep in mind as we continue to have this conversation. I'm going to throw it to Jacadero. Jacadero, what's it?
Once again, man, good job on the accent. That was pretty funny. Islam is diverse, but but
Thank
is
you.
but Islam being an entity implies some semblance. Why is the idea of African spiritual unity shut down by Pan-Africanists? Yeah, it's because like we're not all there. That's why. Like right now, as Pan-African nationalists, students of Pan-African nationalists, we're not there yet. We're not there yet because one, it's like even look what we just had in topic number one. Like me and Black Steel had a fundamental disagreement about how Malcolm and Martin were viewed back then. You know, they were I think we both agree that they were popular. Now, whether they were liked, maybe that is where we disagree. But you know, those type of things, like there's so many. Forget the religion, because you know we're comparing a religion ideology to a nationalist ideology. Now, some can say, well, hey, you know, is Islam and Islamists they have, you know, there's Islam nationalists, sure, but you know, there's other regions of the world that have Islam, but Pan-Africanism, it's in the name. You know, you're unified. You're unified in the freedom and liberation of Africa and African states, outside and inside, Caribbean included. So I say this to say, like, look at how many splinter cells we have. FBA. And then between the FBA, then there's the ADOS, and they don't get along. And then I just found out, literally maybe a month ago, that besides the FBA ADOS flag, there's an African American flag that's, I've seen it before, but I didn't know it was the African American flag. It's black, and then it has the red on the side, and then with a gold sword, right? And so there's so many splinter groups. So like we're not there yet. We can get there, but we're not there yet. Islam is not just it's an institution. You know, like you have scholars, you have places of worship, you have whole directives of a code of conduct to follow. You know, the 5 pillars of Islam are, if I can remember right, you know, giving charity, fasting during Ramadan. I'm going to forget these, but nonetheless, it's like these are written and enforced 5 pillars of a code of conduct. Where is the code of conduct for Pan-Africanists? What is it? I got to attend 2 Dr. Umar speeches a year at least. Yeah, you understand? You understand? Like, what is the code of conduct? We don't have that. So we're comparing something that isn't comparable to something that is a state. It's almost a state in itself. You know, if a country wants to speak with the heads of Islam, there's a high chance that those individuals will be brought forth. Who is the head of Pan-Africanism right now? We don't even know. We don't even know. Do we even have a board? No, there's no board. You know, our scholars sure are there. Awesome. All respect to them. But are they, what's the word? Are they in consensus of being like, hey, you are the scholar? In modern times, I know that in yesteryear, you know, we had John Henry Clark, Dr. Ben Yakinen, and those individuals, Francis Scott Wilson. But did we do in modern times? Can we name 5 men or women? Yeah, that's not 70 plus. We're talking about either middle age down to Gen X, Gen Z, millennials. Do we have 5 individuals that we can say, boom, here is our Pan-African board. This is who will represent. We can't even name that. Come on. And some of us like have been in this, for 10 plus years. So, you know, why yet Islam can be existing.
But Jacadero,
Yeah.
Pan-Africanism is an idea, right? That's like asking who's the leader of communism, right? Who's the leader of socialism? We don't have. It's an ideology.
Or Islam. Islam
Right.
doesn't have a leader.
Yeah, it doesn't have a leader.
Yeah,
So
sure, it doesn't have a leader, but you know where you can find a scholar, you know where you can find the authority, and it's usually Saudi Arabia. You know, the whole, if it's not there, then it's literally the place that Jews are trying to wipe people out. The Dome of the Rock, right? Isn't that like their second holiest place? If it's not Mecca, it's the Dome of the Rock in Palestine or Israel. Or hey, you know, I'm not here to say which are war, but it's the Middle East. You just point it there. Where is the the authority for Pan-Africanism?
It's very simple. That's simple. Oh, go ahead, Black. Still, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, it's simple. Who were the Pan-Africans? You have Garvey, you got Dr. Ben, you got Dr. Clark, you have a plethora of scholars, John G. Jackson, Chancellor Williams, Arthur Schoenberg. The list keeps going on.
Living. I'm talking about living authority. Living. Saudi Arabia has living authorities. Islam has living authorities. I can't name besides.
There is no living authority of Islam. Muhammad's dead.
Sure.
But there's no caliphate. There's no organized unite. The thing is, what we said before: bury the men and continue to play. Our leader should be our ideology. Should be the organization, the Union of African People. That's our leader, which we have to go by the ideology. Because if you have a leader, you can eliminate that leader. Once you eliminate the leader, then the movement is left in disarray. We have to move beyond looking toward a one central figure, because then that can leave the movement decapitated. All right. Once we adopt the ideology, is much harder to eliminate. Why do you think they eliminated communism yet? Because there's no communist leader. You kill him and you take all the communists out. It's the ideology.
Or capitalism.
Or capitalism. There's no leader of capitalism.
You can destroy their institutions, though.
But the idea is still alive, though, is what we're trying to say.
Listen, I'm just trying to be an antagonist just for the conversation and make us realize when whoever put this prompt here, it's comparing apples and mangoes, right? It's not necessarily the same thing. I'm with you guys. I'm actually with you guys, but I'm also trying to create an argument to say that's why the creation of taking an ideology and turning it into an institution, it's not a simple thing. It takes think tanks to come up with these things, to put people in position, to come up with resources, to blah, 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 blah. So I'm saying maybe, just maybe, these are some things that we can get started on, right? Hey, what can we create a code of conduct for Pan-Africanism? Because you guys are saying, hey, it's an ideology. So then this has been an ideology since what? Before Garvey, because Garvey learned this from is it Dule or whatever that Muhammad character guy name is, right? He learned that from him, and that guy learned that from something else. So I'm saying, isn't it about time that we can point not a 5-year-old, but a 10-year-old kid, just like he can point to the 10 commandments, and that 10-year-old kid can say, this is what makes me or her a Pan-Africanist or a student of Pan-Africanism.
I get what you're saying. It is still an ideology. I understand you're probably trying to say what's the vehicle that we will put that ideology in for an example for everyone to look at, pretty much. Saying what governing body does Pan-African has, but at the same time, Pan-African is different things. It could be from a philosophical standpoint. It could be from an economical standpoint. There's a lot of ways we could, look at it and facilitate that need for what Pan-Africanism is. But basically, just do it like this. No European doesn't question what Europeanism is. Chinese, Pan-Chinesism, they don't question that. It's their culture that they put forward in themselves, and everybody have a group cohesiveness, and everybody knows what the goal is. So, I think it's pretty much a show and prove at this point right now.
I like it. By the way, the guy's name was Duce Muhammad. And speaking of Duce, man, I can't wait for some Duce tonight, man, in celebration of Bud Crawford. But that's besides the point.
I understand where the.
Go ahead, Juana. Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't want to get in front of Shirley's if you was going to her cuckoo. I didn't want to get.
Cheryl. Cheryl, what say you to the idea that Islam is diverse in comparison to Pan-Africanism?
Yeah, that was a silly video, but did I hear the girl say something about, oh, being Muslim is diverse. Some people celebrate by eating jollof rice. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Is that what I heard, or was that just me? Like,
Yep, you heard it.
just to give, I don't know why, but I am gonna, like, just for the sake of argument, I will give her a grace. I think she's just trying to point out, like, we don't all eat the same things.
Yeah.
I understand. It's just the way it just. I know she was trying to highlight how Islam has maneuvered itself through different cultures. I get that. It just kind of sounded funny. It's just it sounded stupid. I'm sorry, but yeah. But shoot, what I was gonna say, that took me all the way out. What was I going to say? Yeah, like someone said, it's like comparing apples to oranges. I would say it's like comparing apples to broccoli. Like, it's like Islam. It's older than Pan-Africanism. It's not even a fair comparison. You got some. Is it a stretch to say that you still have some Pan-Africanists that are Christian? I mean, you can't leave your religion at the door because, like I said, religion is culture, it is language. You cannot leave it at the door. If there are some people that are willing to see what it's about, see what Pan-African is about, some Black people who are willing to get back to their roots, that's great. But majority of Christians is not letting, like, for example, they're not letting go of Christmas. If we as Pan-Africanists say, oh, we're not practicing Christmas, we're not doing any of the holidays, the vast majority of them will lose their goddamn minds. They're like, oh, something wrong with you. We see it in our families all the time. Like, these are things that are connected to Christianity in the West and all around the world. People who don't even, like, they have their own practices. They still do Easter and Christmas and all this foolishness. Like, you can't leave it at the door. What you can do is you can leave the door open for people, and if they want to walk through that door with you, then that's great. But I mean, I'm not sticking my neck out. Like, if they want to see what it's about, if they want to know who they are and who what their culture is and what their true languages are, then it's there on a platter for them. But if they don't want to really do that, I mean, we don't have to engage with those people.
So
There's
Cheryl, you don't feel like you could have worked with Brother Malcolm?
No, okay. So he is he's just an example of that's not everyone though. He's different. Like, if they have a inclination, like I said, towards Pan-Africanism, then yeah, but that's majority of people is not thinking like him. He's like one in a million. If there are some people that's like that, that's fine. That's fine. But the majority of I don't know about Muslim people, but the majority of Christians are extremely arrogant. The onus isn't on us, it's on them, because they're the arrogant ones. They're the ones that's always throwing out, nasty things about Africa. They always saying little slick shit, like, they always saying something crazy. So why would I go out of my way? Like, I'm not doing it. I'm not trying to evangelize them. Like, we're not Christianity. That's not what we do. So if they want to come, they come. If they don't, then see ya. There's the door.
Appreciate that, Cheryl. In the chat, Brother Bakari says, BBN Black Business Network says, you need leaders, and those leaders train others to lead. He goes on to say, everybody has leaders. Y'all use economic systems as examples. Use the military as example. And your leaders everywhere. You see new leaders being trained to lead. Trigger Happy has kind of a follow-up question. I'll wait till Juan. I think Juan was the last one to go here. I'll wait till Juan responds, and then I'll throw out the follow-up question. Juan, what say you?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I understand what Jacadero was saying because of his perspective. It's always context. Jacadero is coming from, when he talk about the 5 pillars in Islam, You know, when I was in Islam, I learned about Shahada, and then you have Shahada is the profession of faith, and then you have Salat is the prayer, then you have Zakat, which is charity, then you have fasting, and then you have Hajj. So these are things that are set out already. It's easy to follow kind of things, and it's not a difficulty in trying to understand what the central goals are in what you are practicing. So I understand that perspective. But when the brother talk about Islamic unity, you know, I'm minded. You have Sunni, you have Shia, you have Sufism, you have Ahmadiyya, you have Hanafi, you have Hanabali, you have all different sects of Islam, all different manifestation of Islam. That when you talk about unity, there's a difficulty in me looking and seeing that. Especially the brother said earlier, you have these groups fighting against one another. You have these groups fighting against one another. You know, so I understand that Jacadero is looking for structure, but that's in one idea and concept. You have and no one tries to understand British Anglicanism, because why? They don't have a written constitution. You know, they follow a common behavior and practice. A common behavior and practice. They don't have a written constitution like the United States or Islam, where you say we have 5 pillars. You know what I mean? There's this idea that's out there that many black leaders and representatives, scholars, and thinkers, from Garvey to Dessalines, if you read the Constitution and what he put down in the Constitution, and many other writers and thinkers, where Africa for the Africans need to be free. We are trying to engage in the advancement of our people in this competition between other groups of people. That there's this thread that is going throughout. If you read and study, see, the Christians, I recognize, they don't know that holy book. They follow what the pastor is basically saying in terms of what then in that book, and its interpretation of what's in their scriptures. They don't necessarily read their scriptures. And I would challenge us not to be like the Christians. Read the people who have written down these ideas through history, so you can get a better understanding and perspective of where you're coming from. They don't necessarily draw out and say, we have these 5 fundamental principles. No, these are threads of ideas and concepts, you know, written throughout time, in terms of our time in this part of the world, and even in the continental African societies. What is distinguishable is even though we had different religious practices and ideas, when we was at the Western Africans, the people who were brought to this part of the world, what was confusing was made very clear, which is who our competitors are and who our enemies are. At the bottom of that ship, you could have 100 different religious ideas, but fundamentally, you had to work together. Because if you didn't work together, you could not get yourself out of the condition that you was in. You had to work with the people who may have been your continental enemy. At the bottom of that ship, that no longer exists. That no longer exists because you was tied by one basic concept. This person see me as this. Therefore, I have to operate in a way in the world that would buttress against that idea if I want to exist on this planet. So what was unclear on the continent became fundamentally clear. It eventually became clear on the continent, but it became very clear to the people who were brought into these areas. If you was unclear about this idea, you know, of really, you know, competing to exist in this world. And there are people who are trying to fundamentally take you out because they don't even see you as a human being on this planet. You know, so this is what I would say in terms of looking at the ideas and comparing and contrasting it against Islam. And like I say, Islam is not united. It is not united at all. I don't know where they get that from. I don't know where they get that from. You know, even in moving through the Islamic world, I haven't seen it. So, you know, maybe I'm not clear about that, but I haven't seen it. But I'm saying that if you are confused about Pan-Africanism, all of these callers are basically saying the same thing under the same rubric. And if you study these people as the Christians study their holy book and as the Islamicists study their holy book, you will see a common thread. You know, our existence, our advancement, our improvement on this, and our level of competition in this world to defeat our enemies. To defeat our enemies. That's what I would say to this prompt, but I'll leave it there.
One, I agree with that last part, especially that you said there is a common thread, and I think that's the point I think that's the point that the prompt is trying to get. I have the wrong prompt on the screen, but I think the idea is that we have a common thread of African people in different locations, right? Just like they have a common thread of Islamicists in different locations, even though they might be Sunni, Shia, and whatever else you had mentioned earlier. What we have is they're still under Islam. They might have their infighting about who should lead and blah, 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 still under Islam. They don't call themselves something different, like ADOS and FBA, for example. And I think that's really the idea.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you know what? Tony Blair, and the French president and the American president, all of them have different ways of looking at the world. You know, France practices socialism to an extent. The Canadians practice a level of socialism. The American president practicing capitalism. But all of them are pan-Europeans. Make no mistake about it. All of them are pan-Europeans. In fact, I would even say this. Donald Trump is a great Pan-African. He makes something that was unclear, very distinctive. He say, I don't want these N-words in this country, and even if they're American, I can ship you off, and I can get you out of here. Bring in the Europeans. Bring in the people who because don't bring them dark people from them shithole countries. I want Europeans to come here. He's practicing pan-Europeanism and pan-African. He's telling the world what pan-Africanism is. He letting y'all know, y'all don't want to practice it. Well, y'all, if you only can practice, I can practice it for you all. It's better than y'all. And if y'all don't get the point of that, I can show you all what it is. And it's not only him. It's the Europe. It's the English prime minister, and it's the French right now are trying to put in. I forget her name now. This female lady who was far right. She's a so-called what they call in America far right extremist, because the French want the black people in France to leave that country. And if the black people in the Western world don't get it, and continental Africa don't get it, they gonna get it by being shoved out of the country. And these people want an ethnic state in all of these European countries. They practice in pan-Europeanism, and they say if y'all don't want to practice pan-Africanism, we gonna show you all what it is. But I'll leave it, Koku. Sorry for interrupting you, brother.
No, it's all good. I was just following up on the point that you made. Does anyone have any last thoughts on this prompt? All right. Let's go through the results.
Yeah, I do actually. Look, I think it was kind of bogus. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't, this kind of topics, we can't waste our time on. I personally feel insulted by the whole comparison. For real. Like, I don't think that we needed these kind of thought experiments, and I don't think it's very productive. That's just me. Maybe I need to, start putting you on topics or something, but yeah, that left the bad taste in my mouth. I'm saying it. Like, I want y'all to hear it.
Yeah, by the way, Real Black Gentlemen, just join the Discord. Post topics of your choosing, and we'll discuss those also. I give everyone a chance to post the topics that they feel are necessary. It's not for me to say it's unnecessary, but I actually get the parallel that was trying to be made there. I mean, folks let me not say nitpicked it, but folks kind of picked it to death that the Islamicists don't have as much unity as blah blah blah. But I think the idea was similar, that even if you want to be FBA, ADOS, or African American, you want to be a Bahamian, you want to be Guyanese, you want to be, at the end of the day, you're still African. And I think that's really what the prompt was trying to get at. Cheryl, you want to add something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, when you're dealing with people, like most people can't have a conversation past 5 minutes. Like you can't even, you gotta find people who are, I guess, people who are willing to even have a conversation with you. That, I mean, you, if you can't even get to that, like, it's, unfortunately a lot of people are just like so social media crazed, like they just don't want to hear nothing. Like they, if you can't get to the point in 5 seconds, you can't get to the bottom line up front. Most people don't want to hear what you got to say. Like, or if it don't got, if it don't start with Jesus is Lord or whatever, you cannot get to them. I'm sorry, you just can't. You don't even waste your time, and it doesn't mean you're giving up on people. It just means, shoot, you just gotta leave them alone. They just gone. They gone. But if at least, like, cause you get a lot of college students, I mean, they got short attention spans too. But if you can, with in terms of Pan-Africanism, getting people to get into it, you gotta start with people who are curious to begin with. Like you gotta really like get to that point first. And I'll say that. That's all.
Appreciate that, Cheryl. Before we go to Should Read topic number 4, I'll take the last word on this. This wasn't a topic of mine or anything, but again, like I said, I get it. I just want people to understand that we were we were forced into these religions. They don't serve us. They don't connect us to our roots, our heritage, our land. They don't. We're not reciting the stories of our ancestors. We're not even using. We're not even calling on the names of our ancestors. That's pretty bad. In these videos that we looked at, one of the guys in one of those videos says, yeah, we get this from our ancestors. And the question becomes, and it's not one that we're going to finish answering tonight, but the question becomes, what are we getting from our ancestors? What are we continuing fully, not syncretism? What are we continuing originally from our ancestors? The things that we can go back and get. And I think that's important, especially if you're talking about being in a position of power one day.